This is Inspiring Careers with your host, Ingrid Centurion. We're going to talk about fascinating technologies that will impact your future. Meet inspiring entrepreneurs and people that are making huge differences in the community and around the world. We're going to share career and life lessons of inspiration and success. This is Ingrid Centurion with Inspiring Careers, and today we have Carie Pasquarello back with us, and we're going to talk about victimization and the 2 R's. Thank you once again for being back on the show with us.
Good afternoon, Ingrid. So happy to be here to help create a culture of awareness, especially as it pertains to personal safety.
I know, and tell us about some shocking, incredible stories that if you're not watching the news, you just don't hear about what's really going on there.
Right, so we have several cases that we could talk about right now, and one is the Jazzy Carrera story. She left a Boston nightclub and unfortunately got into the wrong car with a person who ended up murdering her. And once again, when we talk about our personal safety, it's really important to stress how important it is to stay in groups and let people know where you're going and having some safety strategies that you can get out of bad situations if need be.
So when she was leaving that night with the gentleman, what is the one thing she could have done that could have avoided this?
Right, well, you know, it's a tragic, tragic situation what happened to her, because you'd like to believe that the people you're meeting have good intentions, but unfortunately some don't. And one of the best strategies we talk about with our clients or any of our students that we talk with is let a friend know where you're going. Make sure that you leave a trail about who you're going with, where you're planning on going, and then you can keep in contact with your friends. And if something should go wrong, you want to be able to have some skills and strategies to get out of that situation if need be.
But that night, she probably wasn't on her cell phone. You know, so I'm thinking if I was out, and I used to do this, I would say, hey, I'm calling my mom, I'm going to let her know, where are we going? You know, just right. So the stranger knows, hey, somebody's looking after me. I just told my friends where, you know, I'm leaving with this guy. Probably all those things were not mentioned. I mean, we don't know, but I think that a small thing like that could have helped the situation.
It could have helped, and also it allows the criminal to make a choice. Is this an easy target or a difficult target? So if there's a criminal out there and he finds out he has a victim in mind, but that victim has already told other people where she's going, what time she's going to be home at, what direction they're going. That right there will make the criminal stop and think, too many people know about me. I better not commit my crime right now. And that's really the strategy, is understanding how the criminal thinks and really putting ourselves in a better position to keep ourselves safe.
I got another idea for that. Since I love taking selfies, it's like, okay, you meet this guy, let's take a selfie. And you know, you take the selfie and you might say, well, I'm going to post that on Facebook. He might think twice because that's the last guy I left with, and if that's what he was planning, maybe he wouldn't have done that either.
That's true.
You know, there's so many things. You let people know that somebody cares
right.
about you and somebody's looking for you
right.
immediately.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's talk about the flight attendant and her situational awareness and how she saved a life there.
Right, so that goes right into human trafficking. So one of amazing story that came out not too long ago was a stewardess that was on a flight from Seattle to San Francisco. And what happened was she knew the key indicators for human trafficking, and she understood that there was a gentleman with somebody. The two people together didn't make sense. One was dressed in a certain way. Another was answering all the questions, which is another key indicator for human trafficking. And the stewardess had an intuition that said, this is not right. And what she did was remarkable. She went into one of the bathrooms and she wrote a note. If you need help, write yes here. And she left a pen and a piece of paper in the bathroom. She locked that bathroom door. She went back and tried to talk to her a few more times. She wouldn't answer any of the questions. She would defer everything to the person who she was with. At one point, they got up to use the restroom. She made sure she was there to open the bathroom door for the one she thought was in trouble. She went in there, and when she left, the stewardess went back in and checked, and she wrote, help. Right there, she was able to go into help mode. She talked with the pilot. They had law enforcement waiting on the ground when they landed. They came on board, they took the two off, and they found out she was human trafficked. They saved her life. The man was arrested, and an excellent end to this story is she went on to go to college, and she's doing fantastic.
Wow. That's a
So
great story.
really important to understand those key indicators for human trafficking.
Let's talk about, explain to us what situational awareness is in your definition.
So situational awareness is a proactive approach to minimizing your risk by anticipating, identifying, and understanding the impact, the potential impact that a risk might have in your surrounding areas. So it's really important to increase your situational awareness. And oftentimes I'll talk with my clients at Global Secure Resources and they'll say, what is situational awareness? We hear about it, but we don't know what it is. And this is where we get to teach really great strategies to increase your observation skills and how to be proactive with your safety with situational awareness. And we do this with two great strategies. One's the baseline check and one's the 2 R's.
Okay. That's what we want to make sure we talk about today. So what's the first R?
Well, we'll talk about the baseline check first.
Okay, first baseline
so
check.
baseline check is it's really fantastic. So it really is a skill builder, an exercise, and anybody can increase their situational awareness by doing this. So first of all, we want to identify what a baseline is. So what we do is we'll take, for example, a coffee shop. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, or any coffee shop in Paris, in Tokyo, or in Turkey, in Istanbul. So basically, the baseline for a coffee shop is you walk in, there's a barista, there's a couple of tables, there's people sitting down drinking, maybe on a computer, maybe on a cell phone. That's our baseline for a coffee house. Now, when you go into the coffee house, you want to try to identify anything that's above that baseline or below the baseline. So you want to see if anything is added or taken away. So excellent example of something being above the baseline is you walk into your coffee shop and you see 15 people behind the counter with the barista. That is something that you need to stop, analyze, and determine if it's a threat. So it could be that there's a training happening, right?
Right.
It could be there was just a crime that took place and the criminal put everybody behind the coffee counter. So right there, once again, you have to identify and determine if it's a threat. And always use your intuition. It could be nothing, it could be something. That's the key with finding something above the baseline. Now, something below the baseline is if you go once again into the coffee house and you see there's nobody sitting in tables and there's no barista. So right there, once again, you have to analyze, understand, and determine if it's a threat. Okay. It could be that the barista just opened the coffee house and there's no clients because of that. It could be that they've gotten sick and they're behind the counter. There could have been a robbery. Or they could just be in the back getting more caramel for the caramel macchiatos. But once again, it's your responsibility to try to identify, understand if it's a threat, and use your intuition. So anything above the baseline or below the baseline is what you're looking for.
But when you're in an environment that you've never been there before, you don't know what the baseline is.
That's right.
Okay.
So now, as you're traveling the world, you're identifying new baselines. So every time you're going into a new store, a new country, a new city, you're going to try to look around, observe, and try to figure out what the baseline is. That's the key to strengthening your situational awareness, is identifying and creating new baselines for every place you go. And it's almost a game. So every time I go out, no matter where it is, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's the dentist.
Well, your head must hurt.
No, it's a wonderful game. It's something that I do every single day, but it strengthens my situational awareness because we find too many people looking at their cell phone.
Right, they're not paying attention.
You know, they're just oblivious to what's happening. And this really brings you back down to being present in the moment and identifying and understanding if something's a threat.
All right, wonderful. So let's get into the R's.
Right.
Okay.
So
what's our first R?
So risk.
Risk. Okay.
So the 2 R's is risk and resource. And what this is, it's a scenario building. And once again, you can get really good at this as you practice. And this is excellent to teach our children, our loved ones, our daughters, our mothers, our aunts, anybody this skill. So every time you change location, you think of the 2 R's. So it's the risk and resource. Pick 3 things that could be a risk three things and pick your resources. So for instance, every time I go into the movie theater, I think 2 R's. So I look around and I say, okay, what could possibly go wrong here? And I say, okay, there could be a fire, an active shooter, or an earthquake. Really quick, I come up with
Let me tell you my R's. I think lights go out, I need a flashlight. Lights go out, right?
Perfect.
You can't see anything in there.
You can't see anything, right? So that would be your risk. Then you would automatically go and find your cell phone and know that you have a flashlight on your cell phone. So boom, it's done. And that's exactly what I do with these R's that I find. I say, okay, if there was a fire, I know where the exits are. Okay, if there's an active shooter, I'm hiding under this chair or this chair. If there's an earthquake, I'm getting myself out to safety. So right there, I created my safety backup plan. It's done, and I'm watching the movie. So this way, seconds are what can save your life in situations like that. And by creating these plans, you're a step ahead of the game in life-saving prevention methods.
Okay.
So our 2 R's and our baseline check. Those 2 things, you're all set if you start practicing these, and you really can increase your personal safety.